All right. I'd like to call the Topsham Planning Board to order. So would you please take the roll?
I will. Don Span,
Present.
Harry Bitford, present. Ronald Bisson,
Present.
Larry Brand,
Present.
Dan Flagg,
Present.
Scott Libby,
Present.
and Josh Spooner,
Present.
all present.
All right, thank you.
Well,
So let's do the minutes, and then before we start with I'd like to get a few comments for the record about the sidewalk. So the next item, approval of minutes from the August 11th, 2022 meeting. Do I have a motion or comments?
I move that we accept the minutes of the August 11, 2022 meeting as submitted.
second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed, one abstention. All right, good, thank you. All right, so for the record, the entire planning board, along with the peer reviewer and Kate, attended the site walk. There were no no members of the public attending, and we spent probably 45 minutes to 50 minutes and walked the site for the next project, which is 715 Augusta Road. I guess, does anybody want to add any comments about the walk?
I just think it was very helpful for me to get a visual, to really see the topography and the features that we were talking about at the last meeting. That was beneficial.
Okay, good. They did, they marked the center line of the road, as well as they showed the setback to the stream. And we walked that as well as part of the sidewalk. All right, do you want to add anything? All right, good. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started then. This item is for the subdivision, building system LLC has submitted proposed 11 lot single family subdivision at 715 Augusta Road, tax map R10, lot 79. And you're going to start off?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. Adrian Fine, Teradyne Consultants, representing the applicant for Augusta Road subdivision. Thank you all for attending the site walk. It was very helpful, and I'll just give a summary if everyone's listening. It's an 11 lot subdivision on a 930 foot dead end road, Halcyon Drive. That's going to be offered to the town for acceptance as a public road. And then there's also a shared driveway, lot 6 and 7. Wesley's Way is the name for E911 purposes, but it's not a road, it is a shared driveway. Along the road, we have ditches, culverts, erosion control, and a level lip spreader to manage stormwater. We have underground electric coming from Augusta Road, electric and communication that will serve the lots. And then each lot will have its own individual septic tank as well. We also have a shared mailbox area at the entrance to the road. As the chair mentioned, we have flagged the setback from the stream 75 feet in the field. That's on all of our plans marked as 75 foot no disturb buffer. So that'll be on, it's on the subdivision plan, site plan, everything. One of the additions we added since the last time we were here was on our site plan. We have the building envelopes shaded in green to really clearly show the area where the building can occur. And we've excluded any wetland areas from that green that cannot be disturbed. We have some wetland disturbance that we're permitting, and other wetlands on the site that are not part of that permit are not shown in our building envelopes, and they can't be disturbed for DEP and for the town. There's an added note that Kate added to our conditions that we're putting on the subdivision plan that states that no other wetlands beyond our permitted amount can be disturbed, and we've also listed all the lots that have wetlands on them, so that anyone who has that subdivision plan that goes with their deed, they'll be able to see that their lot has wetlands on it, and then they'll look and know they can't disturb them. So that was, kind of the biggest addition was setting up those no clear areas. We also added the, clarifying note about the tree line, which we talked about a little bit on the sidewalk. Just showing on our demo plan where the trees can be removed and should be removed within the right of way. And then where, there's a note stating that they can't be removed elsewhere. And then, let's see, one other small change, was we actually adjusted this property line between 6 and 7 slightly. There was some conversation about building envelopes, and so we just, split it over to make these lots more equal. It doesn't really impact anything previously discussed, except for making lot 7, a more buildable lot. And then we provided a declaration of easement and road maintenance document that was prepared by the applicant's attorney. That has, road maintenance and stormwater maintenance information in it. There's also a stormwater inspection and maintenance document specific to this project that's being reviewed by the peer engineer as well, our peer review engineer. So all of those maintenance items for the road and stormwater will be the responsibility of the lot owners as the roadway association until such a time that the town does accept the road, and then those items would go with the road and the responsibility of the town. I think that was about it in terms of additions and changes. Oh, we also submitted our cost estimate for the formal guarantee as part of the final submission. And yeah, if there are any other questions from the site walk or about stormwater or anything along those lines, I'd be happy to answer those.
You did provide the MDOT permit.
Yes, yep, we've sent that in. It's for the location that's staked out in the field, so that should be in the packet.
And you are still looking for a waiver.
Yes, the dead end road waiver.
Can you just briefly go through?
Yep.
What's allowed and what you're asking for?
Yes.
That's the only waiver.
That's the only waiver, yep, so, for a different waiver, I also want to say there is a DEP permit that we've submitted for, and that's. It's included that in our submission, we expect to receive that in mid-October. Pretty standard, it's just for the wetlands. So that's the only other thing besides the DOT permit, which we've already sent in. And then as far as the dead end road waiver, so this, we're proposing it as a dead end road, so we're asking for a waiver to allow that. This lot is constrained by a number of factors. One is that the northern property line is the town line, and that's an active farm, so we can't connect to the north. And then to the east, the property that we bought is completely wetlands. And then to the south, there's also stream and wetlands. And there's not really an opportunity for like looping on the site because it's not wide enough. It wouldn't make practical use of the land for building lots. So for those reasons, we're requesting that you allow the dead end road.
So the distance allowed, the dead end road calls for is how much and how much are you asking?
The distance,
They're within the allowable distance, but all dead end roads and subdivisions need a waiver.
yeah, I guess we're not asking for
You're not asking for
anything
longer.
longer. No, it's 930 feet. We're asking that it be allowed to be a dead end road, but we're not asking for it to be extra long or anything.
No, that's
Nope.
fine.
Yeah.
I misunderstood that in sketch. Okay, Carrie,
I just have a question between the hammerhead and a cul-de-sac and how that gets determined.
From
What would be the benefit? I mean, I'm used to cul-de-sacs, so I
Yeah.
just didn't know why.
So for this site, we chose through Hammerhead to stay out of the wetlands. And to keep the building envelopes large enough. the cul-de-sac would, the right of way would be wider than it is, and we have to adjust it because of the wetlands, so this allowed for the largest possible building envelopes and the least wetland impacts.
And this has been through staff, so Public Works, Fire Chief and so forth, that is satisfied their
Is
needs,
it fine with them?
correct?
Actually,
You have your fire chief letter.
yeah,
Can I put 2 cents in?
Sure.
We have a plowed snow before. It's a lot easier to do a hammerhead than it is cul-de-sac.
Yeah. I was actually gonna say, the fire chief also said that they like the hammerheads. So,
Easier turnaround.
Okay, other questions from,
I would just follow up on that. I far prefer cul-de-sacs. But if that's easier for everyone else. So be it. But if I'm living in that neighborhood. I'm telling you, those properties are probably worth more if there's cul-de-sac there, cul-de-sac there, the kids are out there playing, it's an enjoyable spot. Much better. Hammerhead, not so enjoyable, but that's what we demand.
And not to be the hammerhead to death, but I agree. And yeah, we said it at the last meeting, but the other thing is, you haven't seen it on the plans. I thought we asked for it was to try and have an idea. Obviously, on some of these lots, there is a range of areas to have the driveway. I don't think the Public Works allows the driveway on any part of the hammerhead. So for that lot 5, it's gonna have to be on the northern edge. And,
yep,
okay, and everyone good with that.
yeah, that's,
Okay.
I think that. At one point, we did have it shown there on a
Okay.
plan, it's not on this color plan, and I'm not sure if it's on the plans we have right now, but yeah, we're proposing that driveway would come off here. And then loop into the lot, that
So
also,
instead of a cul-de-sac, now we have a driveway, a hammerhead, and a shared driveway right next to it.
yeah.
Okay. Kind of the aorta.
all right, anything else, any questions on this end?
Well, that was just my hammerhead question.
Oh, well, if you have more questions, please do.
Okay, I just want clarification on the Maine DOT.
Yeah,
It's been sent in to Maine DOT, or it's been approved by Maine DOT?
approved,
It has.
Yeah.
Okay, because this was unrelated to the sidewalk, except it happened as I was leaving the sidewalk. I don't know what the distance needs to be to the north.
Yeah.
But, there was a guy flying down and 2 motorcycles behind him.
Yeah.
That I was ready to pull out in, and fortunately I looked back again.
Yeah.
And pulled back. I mean, seems like they're very close to what
so,
DOT has.
yeah, so we're moving the road. It's gonna be slightly to the north from where the driveway is. And it's also gonna be, the driveway is kind of like lower than the road, taking up, and our road is more level with the road. And both of those things going north and bringing the elevation up allow for the site distance that's needed.
Yeah.
It improves the site distance greatly, actually. The road will be much better site distance than what is like 100 feet better, plus you're coming up instead of like down in a ditch like that driveway.
I didn't bother to go back and take a right and see what it does, but so after that one rise, it kind of flattens out.
Yeah.
Enough that by moving it up and higher, you can see.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Plus, when you're standing in the driveway, you look right over, kind of up and over, that's where the center line was, where the flag was, up near the road.
Right. I just figured the road was further towards the hill that I couldn't see these people coming over, so my sight line got shorter, not longer. But
Right, yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, when I backed out headed north. So I could actually see that level, and yeah, it does actually move. Actually improves the sight distance from here, now up on that point, as opposed to being down in the driveway we're all in. Right.
excellent.
Okay, other questions?
I think that was it.
Okay, anything else this side?
Well, not to beat the site distance thing to death,
Okay.
I think if they've approved it, it makes sense even higher in there where you can see further up the road, but that's the one value of many, I'm sure, that I see in the sidewalk, because when I left the driveway, the same exact, I'm like, okay, this is 50, cars should be travel 60, so I'm gonna have to use my V8, get the heck out of here quickly. But if you move up, you can see, great. If we're gonna be moving the sidewalks, it's one thing I wanna.
That's a good thing. Right. Sometime we need to go take you over to Bay Park.
At my house, so where I live, I get to the end of the road, I gotta roll my window down and listen, because there's a hill right there that I cannot see cars coming from. So,
The speeds have gotten a little bit higher and the sight distance isn't quite as much as we had out there. Other questions? Otherwise, I'm gonna open up for public comments. All right. So open up the public hearing for any comments, sir. Would you like to step to the podium and identify yourself there, please, and your address?
Hi, Todd Bickford, 685 Augusta Road. I own the property just south of the subdivision. And I just want to make a point that gets captured in the notes. Mind if I just?
No, no.
Okay. So my wife and I live here, and my main concern is my foundation drainage dumps into this little flow of water. And if that should ever get blocked up or whatever, then I'm gonna have problem in the basement. I just want to make sure that that's captured. I know I heard you comment about 75 feet from this, which means I'm assuming nothing is going to get disturbed. But I guess I have a couple of questions. One is,
Sir, come on back to the podium.
so my questions are, what happens if that 75-foot marker is breached and does impact that water? The flow of water, is there a penalty in place? And
I'd say if something like that, I would get a hold of the codes officer and ask him to come out and investigate.
okay, but in the meantime, my basement is got
Well,
problems and I'm,
Or call the town manager, right? But,
Okay, yeah.
And I'm not, we all can't necessarily predict what will happen, but
no,
I will say that on the sidewalk, the peer reviewer, who's Tom Saucier, who reviews everything for the town.
right,
That question was asked about because your point was made.
before, right, I just, yeah.
I think you talked to one of the, either to
Mhm,
Kate.
Kate, yeah,
And so Kate brought that up and Tom felt, looking at everything they've done for their drainage plans, that you shouldn't have an issue, right? But that's, so it comes from their engineers as well as the town's engineers. And you should be okay there. I guess something could happen
Yeah.
and we could all be wrong, but at least
right,
it
well,
was brought up and I think it's good to have it in the record.
sure, well, I've heard other things around property rules and stuff, for instance, like shoreline property where you're not supposed to cut trees. And the landowner said, yeah, I know the penalty is $250, so he levels all those trees, and he goes pays a fine. You know, and something similar here, whether it's done accidentally or not. You know, and in the meantime, my property potentially could be damaged. I'm not asking you to answer, but you know, whatever, I just making a thing.
Okay.
Is there anything in place, for instance, like 5 or 10 years down the road after the houses are put in? And say by mistake, the landowner, whether intentional or not, happens to do something that plugs that up? Again, I just have to talk to someone in the town.
That's what I would say, but I don't think there's anything we can put into our rulings. that-
No, I just
that will
wanted
say that.
to know what it is that I can do. You know,
It would be a code enforcement question as far as the code enforcement officer,
Mhm.
because ultimately that is part of our town code for the shoreline protection. So if it's violated, then yeah, it's code enforcement.
But you can go to the codes officer, you can certainly go to the town manager, or you can go to the board of selectmen.
Yeah.
And I would say that I think all of that has happened.
Right.
Over the years.
Yeah, but at least it's been brought up and those that are in
Right.
play here doing the work understand the importance of that water flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we should know, the conditions we're adding are something above and beyond what we've done for other subdivisions. As far as noting the areas that are not to be disturbed within that 75-foot buffer. And that those will be not just registered on these plans, but when people come in for the building permits, that their plot where the building is going to be located, and they're going to have it's gonna reiterate, but they're not to
Okay.
cut in that.
Yeah.
Which is
Disturb
the
that zone.
extra condition that she mentioned.
Okay, great.
To try to help protect that, but you were kind of asking not to do, I can't give.
No, I understand. It's just, hypothetical and
Right.
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't gonna ask this, I didn't think of it until it was brought up here, it had to do with the map again, just real quick, since someone had brought it up about the elevation of the driveway, because I know living right beside that, and people just scream back and forth as far as high speed. I do want to point out that at the line, that actually drops downhill as you head north. So I'm just really questioning the level, I just pointed it out, so I don't can research it. So raising this up, I don't think you're gonna really see any further down, because this goes downhill from that point on.
Okay,
It's just an observation.
thank you. Any other, do we have anybody in Zoom?
Nope, Jeff is watching with us, but he hasn't raised his hand or anything, so I think he's okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from anyone in the public? All right, hearing none, close public hearing. Okay, so I am back to the board. We have a waiver as well as the subdivision approval.
They said one more question too.
Okay.
Okay. I know we have the additional, condition number 15, talking about plot plans to be submitted for building permits. The other item listed there, I think we touched upon, when we were talking about, and that's the no further wetland disturbances.
Yeah.
I didn't see that note on the plan, but maybe that's because the plans we saw, don't look like we got the ones that we signed,
Right,
we'll have that information.
yep, it'll be right off the subdivision plan that you'll sign, that note will be added. Yep.
So, Kate, that's not a thing, since it's going to be on the plan, we don't need to have that as a condition.
I mean, you could put it as a condition, if you wanted to.
Just to clarify it further. Okay.
But yeah, what we discussed is that she would add those additional notes to the final plan set that comes here for signature.
You signed all the sheets and don't subdivision plan,
Just.
or like the recorded plan.
Yeah, so there will be 3 sets brought in for them to sign the recorded. You get one, the registry of deeds gets one, and the planning office gets one.
Okay. Ron,
Usually on any job like this, they do, because I've been looking at the plans, it doesn't show any erosion control measures along that border. And that's probably something we ought to put on the plan, that any house development goes on to protect the stream during construction, that erosion control measures should be, like silt fence or silt saw, something like that.
okay. You know what he's asking.
Yeah, so the applicant and the developer is building the road, and so that's what our plans address, and we have erosion control measures for the roadway construction. I
Yep.
think what you're asking about is for the lots,
Yeah,
for the future
Yeah.
owner development, that they need to add erosion control when they're
Yeah.
doing that. Would that be part of the building permit process with codes as opposed to something on our
Well,
plan?
we've seen it on other plans
yeah, I
where
was
you're
gonna say, it should be
where
right
you're
on the plan.
subdividing.
Yeah.
And creating these lots, I think. I'd say yes.
So a note that says that the lots need to have erosion control measures.
In
Okay.
way the wetland setbacks.
The stream setback.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Ron? Oh, good. All right, any other discussion or questions?
Just one, just going back to the site distance real quick. So you have your entrance permit, is that correct?
Yeah.
So the updated road alignment, and the grading plan and so forth. I'm assuming the entrance is staked out. DOT representative came out and reviewed it as part of the approval process.
Yeah,
So I just, there's some questions about that. So DOT has very specific site distance requirements based on speed limit and so forth,
Yes.
so.
yep, yeah, they came and the road was staked out. They also had measurements from the property line pins and from poles, and all of that is written in their permit.
Yep.
Like those distances, and it is where our road is proposed to intersect is where the permit is for. And just to kind of respond to the public comment, yes, we're moving the road to where it's a little higher and it does slope down away to the north, but that we're closer to the top of that hill when we move north, so yeah, it does improve the site distance.
Okay. Yes. Are you good?
I'm good. I'll make a motion.
Please.
Make a motion to grant the dead end road waiver as per 191-6B, that the existing features restrict the road connection. As noted in the memo from Assistant Town Planner Kate Birch, dated 8/31/22.
Second,
You have it right there. Any discussion?
Who
Seeing-
seconded it? I'm sorry.
me.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, all in favor? All opposed, all right, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Go ahead and make a second motion.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. I move that the application for final plan approval for Building Systems LLC for tax map R10 lot 79 be approved in accordance with 191-10 of the Topsham Code as it meets the standards of the subdivision ordinance with the conditions as outlined 1 through 16 in the planning board memo dated 8/31/22 with additional 2 conditions, one being as written in the memo that note on the subdivision, final subdivision plan prior to our signatures that states no further wetland disturbance is allowed on lots or in right of way without local and state approval on lots 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, including wetland areas that may not be disturbed under approval, under approved local and state permitting. And number 18, the erosion control measures for lot build out along said streams and wetlands setbacks be included in the final plans.
The second that motion.
So, and you understand the conditions?
Yes.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed, all right, it's unanimous. Good, thank you.
Thank you
And
very
thanks
much
for your
all your
time for the site walk.
Yeah, thanks for coming to that.
Thank you for providing good weather.
Oh, that was all up to me.
Tara, you guys,
Okay, so we're gonna move on to sketch plan. Solarized Topsham Solar has submitted a proposed solar farm at 449 Augusta Road. Tax map R10 lot 085.
A little bit closer. to the next here.
No, I think you can do that. Can you grab the mic or will she get picked up by this?
she should get picked up by this if she's up here.
Okay. The Al.
We can move, should we move around a little bit? Yeah, okay,
Yeah, I want to be able to see everyone as well, so
yeah,
next time we'll have to do a display.
yeah, so this has a microphone in it, or if you stand up there, I'll make sure. That's on.
Okay, so if you can
I'm pretty
identify
loud.
yourself. Identify yourself and then the address. We'll get started.
Okay, sounds good. Kara Moody from Stantec representing the applicant. I think you all recognize me by now. And we have Pat Jackson here. And so it's at 449 Augusta Road, the project that we're discussing tonight. So I'm just gonna start with a very brief history, and then Pat's gonna get into some details as to why we're here again, and then we'll give you some project details after that. So this is for the Augusta Road Topsham Solar Project. That project received a site plan approval in September of 2020. And then we received an extension in June of 2021 that extended our site plan approval to March 15th of 2022. We had a pre-construction conference with the required town staff members on March 7th, 2022, but have not been able to actually start construction. And Pat is going to explain why that is the case and why we're back in front of you this evening.
Great, thanks, Kara. Thanks, board. Yeah, Pat Jackson here with Solarize Topsham LLC. So the reason we were able to start construction to our surprise and unfortunately it's because something that was out of our control. Basically, in 2020, we got our permits. We were waiting on two things from the utility, from CMP. The first thing was our interconnection agreement, which is standard to every project. And then the next is our transmission approval, also standard to every project. So we were going through the process of being studied by CMP on the interconnection agreement. What that really means is just it's studying its impact on the local distribution grid. So as 2020 was ending, we knew the study, they finished it, and we were acceptable of it, and so we signed it, and it was getting to the holiday season, and they basically just took 3 weeks to e-sign it. And at that time, it meant absolutely nothing. They're just like, okay, thank you. So fast forward into 2021, we're still waiting for our transmission approval, which we got in March. And in March, we basically had, we had everything we needed to start construction. Within a couple weeks of that, or a month of that, I forget exactly. Just so happens the legislature had trimmed down the solar program, and basically what they did was, without any real specificity on individual projects, they just said kind of at large, all projects are still qualified if they got their signed distribution interconnection agreement in 2020. And we got ours in January 6th of 2021. So they had in the legislation, it was intended to kind of be a large cleaver to control the size. They were also intending to protect mature projects. And this project, given that it had all of our permits, it was considered a very mature, totally mature project. So we felt very good that under basically the good cause exemption part of legislation, this was a land. So we put together our case to the PUC as we went to, and basically said, this has had a lot of investment. We started development in 2019. Took CMP a while to get their study done, but we've been moving the project forward, and PUC took an interesting stance on a number of projects, including ours, which said that if you look at CMP's requirement to complete studies, it's like a many-step process. While they were outspokenly delayed on 3 steps by many days, which if any of them were on time, we got agreement signed in 2020. They said in total they were on time because they were a little quicker on some earlier steps, which was an unprecedented interpretation of utility timelines. So we just basically were out of luck. And so the reason we're back here now is you can still move projects forward if you have them at a smaller system size below basically a megawatt in this case. So it's a great site. The landowner's great. He wants to do it. We want to provide local discounted power to CMP customers. There's nothing wrong with the project other than it's smaller than it was, unfortunately. So Kara will walk you through the project and the footprint, but you'll see that it's shrunk quite a bit, and it's all to allow us to get back into the solar program.
Thank you.
So we put together this plan, that Kate had recommended, that in our pre-app package that shows the area where the new array is proposed, and then the old project is underneath in this light gray. So you can see we have Augusta Road over here. The old project essentially was, under panels throughout this entire area. We had a crossing and then more panels back here. So all of this is gone. And then it's gonna be just limited to a small array here, and even some of this is going away. So as Pat said, it's a lot smaller. So the original approval, the project was 6.1 megawatts. Alternating current, this is down to 996 kilowatts, so just under a megawatt. Pat was mentioning, the total fenced area of the old project was right around 18 acres. Now we're down to 7 acres for 4.7 acres for the fenced area. So everything has just shrunk a lot. So all the disturbance, impervious, all that is shrinking with it. I mean, otherwise, the nuts and bolts of the project is the same. It's still a fixed tilt array. The access road is, remaining unchanged in terms of where it's entering off of Augusta Road. The access road proposed is 14 feet wide within the 6 feet of stabilized turf, which is the same that we did in the previous approval, through consultation with the fire chief. So all of those types of details are staying the same. What we're showing here, I'll flip to this, I don't know how well you can see it anyway, but I'll flip to the side that just shows what we're actually proposing and not the old stuff, but we are making a few adjustments to this layout here to avoid some of the habitat, or avoid all of the habitat mitigation area on the parcel. So there's some low, medium rated habitat area that we were impacting on the previous layout. And we are showing a little bit of impact on this layout, but we're right now in the works, moving some panels around to avoid that completely. And then also moving a few panels around to greater avoid wetlands. So there will be still some wetland impacts, but not as much as what was previously proposed. The original layout was right around 32,000 square feet, so we're gonna be much less than that. And then just in terms of permitting, other, state permits, so the original project received 3 state approvals, well, technically 4, three from DEP. So we have a tier 2 NERPA permit for the wetland impacts. We have a stormwater permit by rule approval, and then a decommissioning permit under Maine's decommissioning law. So the NERPA permit and the decommissioning permit, those are both still valid, as in they have not expired. We received the NERPA permit in 2020. Those are good for 4 years. And the decom approval we just got in 2022. But because the project is changing, we know the decommissioning cost is going to change as well. It's not going to be the same for a 6 megawatt project. So we will be submitting a minor revision application to the DEP to address the change in the decommissioning. We are talking with DEP as to whether a revision is going to be required. We're not increasing impacts, we're only decreasing our wetland impacts. And then the stormwater permit by rule, that has expired. Those are only good for 2 years. So we got that in June of 2020. So we will be filing a new stormwater permit by rule with DEP for this new layout. And then the DOT driveway permit, we received that in June of 2020 as well. And I spoke with the DOT today, and they're just going to reissue that permit since nothing is changing. It's the location of the driveway, the size of the driveway, what it's going to be used for, all that is staying the same. So we're just going to reissue our same permit. So we'll provide a copy of that, should be soon, he said it wouldn't take long, so. So that's, I think, where we stand with everything, like I said, we are working on a few tweaks to this layout, but hopefully, I can be back with a final site plan. You all shortly.
So how about the interconnectivity and all that? Does that have to get reapplied for?
Yes, it does. So we actually got, our signed interconnection agreement today, totally coincidental. So we've got the distribution level approval, and then with projects below a megawatt, you don't, need the transmission approval. So we have both of those already complete.
And in Kate's memo here, she had 5 items listed. I assume that you're
Yeah.
aware of that and covering all that, because you already
Yeah.
talked about decommissioning.
Right, and the DO, so the
And
first
DO.
one there, the DOT permit I touched on, and yeah, we will show, so this plan that we have, thanks for putting that up there. Shows a turnaround area, that will probably be adjusted on this next iteration, but we will show the turning radius and whatnot, so the fire chief can see that it's adequate to turn, emergency vehicles. And right, we know to detail what existing vegetation will remain on site. And I guess another thing I'll just mention, in our previous approval, we had that landscape buffer along, Augusta Road, so that's, staying as is, or as was previously proposed, as well. And right, the itemized decommissioning estimate, we will include that with our local, submittal. And then in terms of the laydown area after construction, that's, the laydown is just a temporary area. It'll be reseeded after construction. But we'll detail that either on the plans or in the application itself. Or both.
Any comments from anyone on board here?
So I'm looking at, well, now that's up there, well, actually, I'm looking at the one that actually shows the layout over the prior layout. And just kind of wondering, as far as, is there any possibility that in the future legislative things could change and you'd be able to expand this back out? And if so, are you essentially blocking what we used to see for the access road to the back 40 or whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I could say yes. I have, there's no planning being done to have like a phase 2. I have no reason to believe that, there'll be kind of a reopening of this program wise that would make us go, oh, we can expand this. So, we're building it, designing it, and assuming that this will be the only project that, that's gonna be on this property, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is unfortunate considering some of the push now for more, solar energy, wind energy, et cetera. So,
Yeah, it's the beauty of politics.
Okay.
Where's that?
Well, so you were asking about if this project is essentially gonna be like cutting off any access
Yeah,
to the rest of the parcel.
yeah, I'm looking at where you put it all on top of and
Yeah,
and so I see the panels now are are blocking.
right.
What was
So,
that? Oh,
yeah.
yes, that
Yep.
drawing.
Yeah, that right there. So, like I said, this is being reworked, and I think the goal is going to be, this access road is probably gonna be adjusted a little bit, and it will come up to along this side of the panels here. And so that would provide access if anybody wanted to do something
Oh,
more on that lot in the future, there's, the access already to that point.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for us.
Okay, it just seemed like a shame that you lose 5
Yeah,
megawatts.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions or comments or feedback for them?
Looks great.
Yeah.
unfortunately. The reason to do it. It was just one question, it's more just, I don't remember a number of these solar projects we talked about existing trails that through that get put outside the fence boundary. And I don't remember one for this, right? What is that trail to the north, where it looks like a trail from the road out?
Yeah, I don't remember any trails on this site either, but I see what you're talking about. It's not called out as any kind of trail. That could just be,
Be an easement, or is it-
I don't think
I
so.
thought that it's there, I don't
Yeah.
remember seeing it
It's
before.
not an easement, but, I think it's an old trail. But I don't think it's
Not-
in usable
Yeah.
state right now. Yeah, I'm not sure what the ordinance, but. I think it's not a formal easement. at least.
Okay. Any other questions for us?
I don't have any.
Okay.
I guess, Mike, I don't know if I can ask this or not, but if we were to try to submit for the next meeting, do you have space on that agenda? No. So then, do we not know?
That would, I would need to look at the calendar. I would say October. You can probably get on a meeting in October to meet the.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The next,
Yeah,
like, possible submission, we would submit in September to be on for October.
one of the October meetings,
Yes,
I will
okay.
tell you tentatively.
Okay.
I'm not making any promises.
Okay.
Kara, I don't know, am I allowed to ask a question regarding that timeline?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
With permission of the chair.
Please do.
You can do anything you want.
Kara, are you going to,
Not that far, but yeah.
are you filing SLOTA with DEP or with Tom Sauce's delegated review?
Stormwater, you mean?
Yes, sorry,
Stormwater PBR will be filed with DEP.
okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. So I think I mentioned earlier, but we do have a site walk out at Topsham Mobile Homes at 5:30 and our have a preliminary subdivision approval public hearing on that project, both on September 22nd. So if nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor? All opposed? All right.